Oh, hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Hey, if you liked the video, click that like button and click subscribe so that you'll get notifications whenever we post new content. Appreciate you watching. This is the Fat Man. I'm gone. Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Hey, I wanted to touch on something real quick this morning with y'all, a little discussion. Had a friend, a viewer, who sent me an email to ask a question that was a very interesting question. There's no wrong or right answer. There are answers that are better than other answers, but I don't believe there's a right or a wrong answer. And that question is, what firearm is best for home defense? As you can see, I've got a wide line of different kinds of firearms laid out here in front of me. I'm going to discuss each one for just a minute. In my opinion, the pros and cons of each one for home defense. Some good, some not so good. But we'll talk about them as we go. No particular order. Okay, the first thing I'm going to pick up, okay, here is an old model Remington 7400. It's an old one. It's in really good shape though. Make sure she's empty. Now, this particular rifle's chambered in .308. My opinion, you couldn't make a worse decision for a home defense weapon as a high-powered rifle, something like your deer rifle. Because you got to understand something, that when that bullet leaves the chamber and starts down that barrel, you're responsible for that bullet until it stops. And there's a lot of stuff that will not stop that round that comes out of this. And when it hits flesh, it's designed to do major damage. It's designed to put the animal down when that the bullet hits. So bad things going to happen if you hit something or somebody that you don't intend to hit with shooting something like this. And more than likely, it was going to pass through the walls of your house or the walls of the room you're in and endanger the other people in your house or your neighbors or somebody's animal or your animal outside. You got to think about stuff like that. So my opinion, high-powered rifles like a deer rifle, very bad decision. Now the uptick to that might be, you might be able to hand load some ammo for that particular rifle and put some really soft point ammo in it, something that you've cast on your own, so that when it hits, it just fragments, so that you don't have a lot of stuff going outside of the room you're in or the outside of your house. I really don't see you being able to do that well enough to make it where that would be a safe gun, not to mention the size of most deer hunting rifles, unless you get down to a lever action, something like a 30-30 or something, or a Winchester long Colt, you know, something that's going to be a shorter version. Wouldn't be practical trying to move around in a house with it if you were trying to defend yourself or your family. Now here's another interesting decision. This is a Mossberg 835. This is a turkey gun. Now, shotguns for a long time have been the #1 thing people have chosen for home defense, because you can load them with birdshot and they're not going to go through 3 or 4 different walls to go out of the house. I agree with that. The problem with most shotguns is the ones that people are using for home defense, they're a load it and forget it weapon. You'll take it out, shoot a couple times, make sure it works. You'll shove shells in it, put it in a strategic place in the house if you need to get to, or put it in your gun vault, wherever you're going to keep it. And that's it. You don't fool with it. Well, if it's a weapon system that you're unfamiliar with, then if something happens when you need to use that and you don't know exactly quickly what you need to do to recover that operation of that weapon and fix the problem, then that puts you in a bad spot. You'll see a lot of folks that'll have single shot shotguns, which are slow to load, breakdown shotguns. Semi-automatic, they're awesome when they work. I mean, you can do a lot of damage with a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun that's got 6 or 7 rounds in it of double-aught buckshot or even just birdshot. You can do a whole bunch of hard hitting. But if that gun jams, if that semi-automatic jams, do you know how to correct the double feed? Do you know how to correct the stovepipe quickly to get that gun back online so it's able to be used? That's the question. Now, that's why I prefer the pump action. Pump action is, you can get several different versions of these. I actually have a couple more. I didn't want to lay everything up on the table because it would have been nuts to see. But I actually have a smaller cut down version of this same gun, but it's got a longer tube. It holds 8 shells, I think, in the tube. They're not prone to not work. You've got a pretty simple system in there that feeds and ejects shells. As long as you've got decent ammo in it, that's not something that's junk, that's not going to work in the firearm. You know, it's going to work for you, and you're going to have a large ammo capacity, and it's going to do great for home defense if you shoot birdshot through it, because at 15 or 20 yards, birdshot tends to stay together really, really well. Then after that, it starts breaking up. Now, that's not to say if you're in your living room and you have to shoot at somebody in your living room to stop them, and your walls are not concrete block or brick, then there's a good chance some of that's going to go right on out through the wall, because your living room is going to be, what, 14, 15 feet wide? So you've got a lot of energy. It's going to, if you miss whatever it is in your house you're shooting at, that it's going to go through a wall, or it's definitely going to go through a window, and then you've got a problem. You've got an issue that you've got to deal with, worried about what's outside, your neighbor, your kids, family members, somebody's animal, somebody's vehicle, something like that. So you got to remember that that's another thing that you really, really have to pay attention to, that you do not want to have a situation pop up to where if you use a weapon to defend yourself or your family in your home, you got to understand what's going to happen after you pull the trigger. Now, another home defense weapon that a lot of people use them. Now, this is an old Marlin M99. It's made something like the .30 carbine. This was made back in the 50s, and it's a semi-automatic 22 rifle. I use it to squirrel hunt with and rabbit hunt with, but it's got iron sights and a scope both on it. And the thing about the 22, this thing holds a lot of ammo. It's not going to pass through a lot of walls and stuff and still hold any kind of velocity. It's going to do a whole lot better than any kind of high-powered rifle round that you're going to get, and you're going to get a lot of ammunition in the firearm. Now, the thing about 22s is there's a plethora of ammo. Okay, you can get ammo that's soft point, that's just lead. You can get ammo that's jacketed. You can get ammo that's hollow point. You can get ammo that's pure lead hollow point, that's jacketed hollow point. Get the softest stuff, which is going to be just pure lead hollow point that you can get, so that if you shoot it, if you miss whatever you're shooting at, and it hits a wall, then that hollow point's going to open up, and more than likely it's going to stop it. I like the idea of a 22 rifle for a home defense weapon, especially if you take something like a Ruger 1022 that they've got the long stick mags that holds a lot of ammo. So you've got something that's a small package that'll hold a lot of rounds you can send down range. And the 22, I think, is a really good idea for a home defense weapon, especially because the guy that lives in the house is not necessarily always going to be the one that might have to defend the house. Now, if your wife has got to pick up this 12-gauge shotgun and go to work with it, can she handle that? Okay, this she can handle. Okay, 22 rifle she can handle, and if you put 8 or 10 rounds down range out of something like this in the house at somebody, you're going to be able to control it. You're going to be able to shoot it from the hip easily. It's not going to come up on you, and you're going to have a lot of rounds to send down range. Especially with, like I said, something like the Ruger 1022, you can change mags on it fast. We'll get into that magazine situation here in a minute, but it's something that really, really, I think, is a good idea for home defense. Now, probably, I'm going to say at least 75%, maybe higher, of the people in the country that own a weapon that is specifically designed to be a home defense weapon, this is what they pick. Okay, this is an AR-15. This particular version is a pistol version. It is cut down to where it's only got a 10-inch barrel on it. It has a wrist brace, not a stock, and it's made for you to hold down and work with it at a waistline level. So you're not going to be putting it up to your head and shooting it. If you notice, this doesn't even have a sight on it because you don't need it. You do not need it. Now, something interesting about this one that it does have is, if you see that little red sticker, I hope you can see that, it does have a binary trigger system in it. What that binary trigger system means is if you flip it over to binary, when you pull the trigger, it shoots, and then when you let off the trigger, it shoots. You can put a lot of rounds downrange in a hurry with one of these. But now the trick is, you got to make sure you work with the rifle and get everything set up right to make it operate. You may have to work with the springs a little bit, work with the buffer weights a little bit, stuff like that. But most of the time, you can get them to work pretty good. Now in this little 10-inch barrel, it takes a little tweaking here and there because you don't have a lot of gas pressure, because the gas gets out of the rifle so fast. But if you work with them, you can get it to work. Or best off, just take your lower and your upper, send it to the manufacturer of your binary trigger, and have them install it. Cost you about $100 to have them install it. They'll put everything in there that needs to make that rifle run the way that you need it to run with that trigger. Good choice for defense in general. Now here's my thoughts on defense inside your house with an AR-15. If you can get super soft lead bullets that are very slow running, that you don't want hot ammo, you want something very soft and as slow as the weapon will stand to operate. Because guys, I guarantee you got copper jacketed hollow points in this, and you shoot at someone in your house and you don't hit a 2x4 when it hits the wall, it's going to go through your sheetrock or your paneling or whatever's on your wall. It's going to pass right through your insulation, going to pass right through your exterior board, and then through your siding unless you got brick or block, and then that bullet's still carrying. Now we're going to do some experiments with all these different kinds of guns very soon. We're going to make up some fake walls of 2 or 3 different designs of what normally is in houses in this area, and fire live rounds through them and see what happens when a live round hits those walls from 12-14 feet away, the normal distance, say, across your living room. But now another version of AR-15 that a lot of people pack is just a standard M4, and this is a longer barrel. And the reason why a lot of people have these is simply because it's so easy to get a large amount of ammo in these rifles. You can buy 30-round magazines just about everywhere in the country, unless you live in one of those Nazi states that don't want you to have anything. We'll talk about that another day. But that's what a lot of people like about these. The rifle system is very reliable, and it does got a lot of energy behind the rounds when they go out of the end of the barrel. You hit somebody with it, it's designed to do what it's designed to do. But like I said, the thing about it is, if you fire this weapon inside a house and you don't impact what you're shooting at, the chances of getting a pass through your exterior walls, pretty high. And like I said, we'll get into that at another time when we do the video testing the mediums of the wall material. But AR, I'm kind of on the fence, guys. I know a lot about reloading, and I know a lot about bullet trajectories and stuff like that, and ballistics, and I understand very well that an AR is a great home defense rifle if you set it up correctly. If you use the right ammo and you understand how the gun operates, and that's another big thing, because this is a semi-automatic weapon, that you need to understand that if you have a double feed, or if you have a failure to feed or a failure to eject or a stovepipe, something happens. If you don't understand how to correct that issue and to get that rifle back online, then you've got a rock. That's what you gotta, you've got to turn it around in a billy club. That's what you've got, okay? So you got to operate this system enough to where it's going to be something that you understand if there's an issue, how to fix it. And it can't just be, guys, it just can't be you. If there's other people in the house, if it's your mom or if it's your wife or if it's your older children and they live in the house with you and they know one day they may have to defend themselves and the house because somebody may come in on them and you're not home, it's a fat lot of good big fancy AR is going to do if that person that's in a house doesn't know how to use it. I'm not saying take them out here and try to turn them into Rambo. I'm trying to tell you, just take them out, show them how the gun operates, show them how to load it, show them how to clear jams and things like that, and explain it to them, and then put them on the firing line and don't show it to them. Tell them what to do and let them do it. Let them go through that system 2 or 3 times. Changing magazines, recharging around into the chamber, pulling the magazine and clearing a double feed, stuff like that. Just a couple of times, let them do that, and that will register in their head. Okay, I know now if I ever have to use this, how to make it work if it stops working. Because if they don't and it stops working, then you very well may come home and your jammed AR is laying in the floor, and your loved one's laying in the floor next to it. We don't want that. If you're going to use something that's a complicated weapon system like this, make sure they understand how to use it. Now, lastly, what I want to show you, this is a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 chambered in 9mm, and I really like these little guns for home defense. I really like them. They got a simple push button safety. Magazine's easy to drop in and out, and they're a very simple weapon to operate. They can be folded up like this and stored pretty much anywhere in the house you want to put one. You can hang a couple of these up behind on a door in a bedroom and put one in each room or something hanging on it. They're not very expensive. Get them for about 350 bucks. And you can buy, they come with a 17 round magazine, but you can also buy Glock mags that holds 32 rounds that'll fit in this gun. And you can put 32 rounds of 9mm ammunition in this thing, and you got a lot of lead to send in the direction you're sending it. And what I like about it is it has the battle sight. It does have a peep sight that's a battle sight that you can use, but I also mounted on the side of mine, I put an M-LOK 45 degree on it and put a red dot on it so that if the situation arises that I have time to turn that on, or my sight was to break off, because these kind of stick up and in a tight situation, you never know what's going to happen. But I could just immediately turn this on, one click, it's on, and then I can still look down the rifle and see that red dot and make the gun still effective instead of just a spray and pray. A cool thing about these, like I said, you can get 32 round Glock mags. They're very simple to operate. Now it is a semi-automatic, but it's just to pull the bolt back and let go. Feed jams, I've never had one. Double feeds, I've never had one. The only time I've ever had an issue out of one of these rifles is if I had a 9mm round that doesn't go off. Unless you're buying cheap stuff, or if you're using stuff that you're reloading, you're probably never ever going to have that. And I never use reloads, by the way, in a defense situation. They're for plinking, and that's all you need to do. I don't recommend anybody go to the reloading press and use materials to reload that you're not 100% sure how long they've been sitting on the shelf before you ever bought them, and you're making rounds that they're not made in a controlled environment. Okay, now a lot of reloaders are going to fuss about this, but that's just the way I feel. It's my opinion, and I know everybody says opinions are like farts. Every butthole's got one, but that's the way it is. That's just what I think. But now for my money, a pistol caliber carbine is going to be the top choice for home defense for me. Reason being is they're small enough, they're compact enough that you're not trying to go through the house with a gun that's 4 feet long. You can get these in bigger calibers. You can get them in I think they got one now in 40, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But you can get a lot of that stuff that will work and do what it needs to do. A lot of these different guns that Smith & Wesson's got a great one out. If I'm not mistaken, that I'm thinking Ruger has either got one out or they're working on one, I read somewhere. Got stuff like the Scorpion, stuff like different pistol caliber carbines. There's a gaggle of them out there. Some of them a lot smaller than this one that are actually considered a carbine rifle that are pistol caliber. But again, you got to remember, this is a semi-automatic weapon system. You may be perfectly familiar with how this thing operates. Your wife and your kids may not have a clue. And what you need to do is you need to go to the range with them and say, okay, here's where this gun's going to be. There's going to be 2 or 3 of these throughout the house, or we're only going to have one. This is where this will always be. This is if somebody comes in the house, get to this to defend yourself weapon. We're going to operate this gun on the firing range. We're going to learn how it works, and I'm going to show you what to do if something happens that we don't know what to do to fix it. And that will make this gun worth thousands of times as much as a gun that's in the house, say like an AR, but they don't know how to handle that gun if something happens, okay? AR may have a 30-round mag stuck in it, full of ammo and ready to go, but it may not have one in the chamber. Do they know how to load it? Do they know to pull back the charging handle and charge that rifle and then turn off the safety? It's little things like that you wouldn't think that would make a big difference. But in a stressful situation, in a situation where lives are on the line, people may die or be seriously injured if something can't be done on your end to correct that situation. If it's a semi-automatic platform, it's a very complicated mechanical thing. Teach the people that may need to use it how to use it. You got to do this, guys. You got to. Now, I'm going to guess my second favorite choice for personal defense is going to be a handgun. Now, I like the handguns even for in-home defense. And the reason I like handguns in-home for defense is a handgun has so much versatility. You can get so many rounds in a handgun. You can get everything from 22s all the way up to 50 caliber, but I don't think anybody would be wanting to use 50 caliber for home defense unless you live in Alaska. But you can get ammo, or you can load ammo for a handgun, slow it way down if you're a reloader, and make it to where that you have less possibility of a pass-through in the wall. But it puts you in a bad situation because now you're trying to use reload ammo as personal defense, and I think that's a bad idea. But now what you can do, a lot of manufacturers now are making subsonic ammo, and you can, because they're using them in guns that are suppressed. So if you find a manufacturer that's producing subsonic ammo that's in the caliber of your weapon, and it will cycle your weapon, then you can use that. You've got a round that's already going slow. You can most of the time find them that's going to be in soft point, or maybe even just pure lead, not even a jacketed bullet. And that way you got a better chance when one of those rounds impacts something that's not what you're shooting at. If you miss and it hits the wall, then it may not go through your paneling and through your insulation and then through your outer board and your siding. It may not do it. Through a window, I mean, window's not going to stop a BB most of the time. But you got to think about stuff like that. It has to register in your brain, and it's so complicated. When a situation arises that you have to defend yourself and your home, the situation becomes so complicated so fast. And if your brain is not trained to that, if you don't have muscle memory that's trained to that, then you could very well end up in a situation where you're in a bad spot. You know, like I said, if it's a semi-automatic system, it's complicated, it's prone to failure, and something happens and it fails. Have you done this enough to where it's just second nature to you to drop that mag, recycle the charging handle, put the mag back in, recycle again, and get going? If not, then like I said, you've got a billy club, or you may have just very well armed the person that's in your house. And I know you don't want to do that, but the handgun, I think, is probably, my opinion, the second best choice for home defense. The handgun is a lot easier to conceal inside the house. There's places you can keep them and things like that, easier away from the kids and things. I understand that. But the pistol caliber carbine has so much more versatility when you're trying to use that as a personal defense weapon, because in the event that you need range, 40, 50, 60 yards, you've got it. But the handgun will do the same job inside your house as the pistol caliber carbine will do, but the pistol caliber carbine will take up not much more space than the handgun, to be honest, especially if you got one of these that is foldable, and it will perform so much better beyond what you're going to do with a handgun. Now, one more thing I want to show you real quick. If you're going to use rifles, I would recommend it even on a shotgun as a personal defense weapon. Buy yourself a red dot. Okay, now if you get one of these that is a good one, and you just have to shop around and see what you like and read up on this stuff. I'm not going to try to tell you what to go buy, but this one, what this one is a Crimson Trace. It's a Rad Pro, and I like this thing because when you look at it, it vanishes. The only thing you see is the dot. You shoot with both eyes open, you look down it, your eye automatically finds the center of that aperture, and the whole device just disappears. The only thing you see is the dot. And you can use it on pistol caliber carbines, you can use it on AR-15s, you could use it on the 22 rifles, you could use it on a shotgun, anything you want to put it on. And what it does is it gives you a sight picture so fast to where if you're shooting a handgun and you got to find the front sight and then find the back sight and then find what you're shooting at. Okay, well with this, as soon as it comes up, you're seeing the red dot, and that red dot is where the bullet's going. Okay, and I really like red dot sights, holographic sights, because of that very reason, because it gives you a sight picture so fast. And like I said, when it's personal defense, the faster you get where you want to go, the easier you're going to have a time with getting yourself out of a situation that's bad and you don't want you or your family to be in it. Guys, this was just a little bit of something that I wanted to show y'all real quick. It's a very interesting topic. I appreciate the subscriber that posted the question that asked about that. Again, I think my personal choice, if I had to choose of all the different kinds of weapons you could get, I would choose #1 as a pistol caliber carbine, especially a foldable. Especially. You know, if it's something like a Scorpion, you don't need that because it's got a slide-in stock and they're tiny anyway. But I like the foldables. I like the Smith & Wesson, and I really like the Gen 3, or I'm sorry, the Gen 2 Kel-Tec Sub 2000. My second would be a handgun. Okay. My third would be a 22 rifle, semi-automatic preferably. Something magazine, box mag fed, not tube fed like this one is. And you need to make sure that the gun is clean and you know how to operate it and you know how to clear jams, because 22's rimfire stuff it's kind of wanky at all times. My next choice would be a shotgun. Okay. Get a self-defense shotgun. I wish I had my other one here. It's not here at the moment. It's got a forearm on it that has a built-in light that's got a switch built into it, not something you got a wire running, and you just push that switch. It's got a super bright LED light. It's a Streamlight stock that's on it. It's awesome. I really like the shotgun, but again, like I said, with the shotgun, I think it's a very limited platform to use, because most women are not going to be comfortable with trying to handle a 12-gauge shotgun and be comfortable with that much energy hitting them when they're going to be shooting it. You're going to immediately, if you take them out to the range, a few rounds of that, and I'm afraid most of them are going to be to the situation that they just don't want to shoot it. Okay, now the next one would be an AR-15. Boy, I'm going to get my butt kicked over this. I would not pick AR-15 for home defense unless it was something that was my last choice, because I'm going to tell you what, if you got close neighbors, and today, unless you live in very rural America, you got neighbors that's within 30-40 yards of where you live. And if you miss what you're shooting at and you shoot through a spot in the wall that's not got a 2x4 there, or you shoot through a window, the round coming out of that rifle it's going to keep going, and the chances of it doing damage to somebody or somebody's home or somebody's property, high. You're responsible for that round once it leaves the chamber until it stops. You got to think about stuff like that. My last, well, no, I take it back. It's not my last choice. It's my will not choose it unless that's the only thing I have to try to defend myself, and that's a high-powered rifle. Don't do it. Don't do it. I guarantee you, if I shoot this 308 through that wall, it's going to the neighbor's house. I guarantee it. And my next neighbor that way is at least 150 yards. And I guarantee you, if it doesn't hit a 2x4 or a wire, and that my house has got paneling, insulation, fiberboard on the outside, insulation, and then vinyl siding, and I guarantee you that 308 round is going to my neighbor's house if I shoot it. If it doesn't hit a 2x4. It may, even if it hits a 2x4. If it doesn't fragment, it's still going to go a long way. And like I said, that's not what I'm going to pick. Okay? But guys, I hope y'all understand my thinking on this. And again, it's my opinion. It's not gospel. You do what makes you feel better. This is what makes me feel better. A pistol caliber carbine or a handgun makes me feel a lot better that I'm not going to kill somebody else trying to stop who's getting in my house. Well, I appreciate y'all watching this video. Hey y'all, appreciate you watching this video. Hope to see you in the next one. This is Fat Man. I'm gone.